We are adults, adequate people. We can think logically and look for information that interests us. Due to the fact that we were able to remove television blinders from our eyes and from the ears of noodles, it became obvious that the first one. In 1993, a state-armed coup d'état occurred there, thanks to the betrayal of Gorbachev, Yakovlev and other leaders of the USSR. Western protégés illegally came to power. The second one, using a manipulation called privatization. 90% of state-owned enterprises fell into private hands and a layer called oligarchy appeared. The third, due to wild capitalism, the absence of any prospects. Due to the availability of drugs and alcohol, plus gang warfare, Russia lost, according to various sources, from 10 to 15 million people in the 90s. Fourth, having played in the contrast between Yeltsin and Putin, and with the help of a play called The Fight Against Terrorism, an oligarchic kleptocracy comes to power. We will not dwell on the topic of house bombings and the revelations of FSB Colonel Litvinenko. One thing is clear, that Putin was brought to power by all possible and impossible ways, and the naive people again believed. Fifth, after 20 years of the reign of Putin and his team, we received a population decline of 250,000 a year. And according to unofficial data from the Central Registry Office employee Ekaterina Lulatina, there were already 79 million people in the 2011 year. We received about 22 million beggars for 2018 years according to official figures from Tatiana Golikova, at that time the chairman of the Accounts Chamber. We have received about 70,000 closed enterprises during Putin's reign. And with all this, the amount of oil and gas produced is growing steadily. Sixth, more recently, it became clear that the Russian government, the Ministry of the Interior, the Ministry of Energy and others are listed in the international UPIK base as commercial firms. Here you can also mention the central bank, which is a completely independent structure from the Russian Federation and subordinate only to the IMF. Seventh, all the reforms carried out by Putin and his team, together with the State Duma, are nothing more than the implementation of IMF recommendations for Russia. This includes increasing excise taxes on fuel and raising VAT and raising the retirement age. The eighth, the budget rule and the policy of the central bank will never lead to an increase in the well-being of the people and are, along with the general political and economic situation, artificially created by the leadership of the Russian Federation, a hidden form of genocide of the population of Russia, and primarily Russian. The ninth, the Russian Federation is an artificially created entity for pumping resources from the territory of the USSR, which by all the norms and laws of international law, still legally exists. This is indirectly indicated by the participation of the USSR in the UN Security Council to this day. On the website of the Central Bank of the Russian Federation, there is the exchange rate of the Soviet ruble against major world currencies. Plus, confusion with currency codes 643 and 810 also confirms the existence of the USSR ruble. Well, 10th. People are beginning to understand that this whole performance is aimed only at one thing, it is to destroy the indigenous population of Russia and continue to pump out resources. Fighting the West is a fiction, and the ruling elite of the Russian Federation will never fight with Western countries, where their children, wives and lovers are safely and satiated. What can be done in this situation? First, of course, to educate people. It is unobtrusive, but persistent, to argue against the existing kleptocrat regime. Secondly, we must understand that the people are the only source of power, and, therefore, it is we who must appoint effective managers and executives to leading positions in the state. Thirdly, The right by which the corporation of the Russian Federation lives is a declarative one, which means that we can leave the jurisdiction of this subject of law, which is clearly shown by citizens of the USSR who are traveling on state license plates of the USSR and receive USSR documents throughout Russia. And fourthly, one must act according to the conscience of any situation. Fighting or not is a private matter for everyone. You cannot force anyone to anything. But everyone in our country needs to try to open his eyes with the help of facts and arguments.